Hey guys, Dave Pierce here. I'm going to talk a little bit today about how to deal with communication failure when you're in VMC conditions. Excuse the situation. I'm traveling with the military and in another hotel, so I'm trying to figure this out while I'm here. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about communication failure in VMC conditions. So I think the most important thing to remember is not to have a panic, right? There's lots of things you can do, but the first thing you always want to do is maintain control of the airplane, um, not react poorly, right? And basically, you need to troubleshoot your radio. So hopefully, you have some owner's manual or um, something else that kind of shows you how your radios work, and you can kind of troubleshoot them that way. Something else you might want to do is try some of the other frequencies in your vicinity off your chart. So look at your VFR chart and see if you can get anything on any of the other frequencies. But bottom line, just maintain control of the aircraft while you're doing that. If that doesn't work and you still aren't getting anything on the radio, you should squawk 7600 and basically get on the frequency you would be on. So for example, for me, if I'm flying around Washington, I'll normally either be on Seattle approach control, Seattle center, or even Portland approach between Seattle and Portland. And even if I don't have a filed flight plan, I'll still be on flight following. So I would get on one of those frequencies and start sending them position reports. And also at the end saying reporting blind, and that will tell them that, along with my squawk code, that my radios are malfunctioning. So another thing you really should do is try to stay clear of controlled airspace without a radio. So not having a radio functioning properly is certainly not ideal or safe, but if you're outside controlled airspace, it's a lot safer than trying to get into controlled airspace where communication is essential to keep you clear of other aircraft. So there's a lot of airfields and airports that you can go in and land at that are uncontrolled, that you don't necessarily have to be talking to a controller to safely maneuver your aircraft to land. You know, you would be on some sort of common frequency to advise other pilots what you're doing, but if you're in visual conditions, you can probably safely, get into the pattern and follow another aircraft or put yourself into a good position to land your airplane. And there may be times where I don't know what those times would be, that you may be forced to get into controlled airspace to land. But that is definitely kind of like a last resort. At that time, you'd probably be looking for light gun signals from the tower, and hopefully it would be a Class D airport, not something like a Class C or B that are much more busy and be a much more dangerous situation. So here's a good one that's kind of nice with more modern technology, is that if you have a cell phone, get down to an altitude where you're picking up a cell tower and try to call ATC or whatever controlling authority you have on your cell phone. Now that probably works best if you have a decent headset with Bluetooth, so it'll just pipe right into your Bluetooth headset. But yeah, that's another good way. I've actually called to pick up a clearance on my Bluetooth headset before at an uncontrolled field, and it worked really well. So always have your cell phone handy and kind of keep that as a tool in your back pocket if you need it. And last, remember that a radio failure in VMC is way better than an IMC. You can still land, you can still see what you're doing, you can still maneuver the airplane. You're not in the clouds with no communication, which seems extremely dangerous. And so yeah, this isn't a time to freak out. It's time to remember the procedures and things you can do to counteract the problem and get the airplane on the ground safely. So keep current, keep studying, And those are some of the ways that you can kind of deal with a situation like this.